What you are about to hear is real. These are not fictional characters from a movie or a TV show. These are real human beings who walked among us and were responsible for some of the most disturbing acts in recorded history. This is the top 10 most dangerous serial killers of all time, and number 1 was never even prosecuted. Number 10, Jeffrey Dahmer, known as the Milwaukee Cannibal. Between 1978 and 1991, Dahmer murdered 17 men and boys in the United States. But what made him different from most killers was what he did after. He dismembered his victims, kept their skulls as souvenirs, and consumed parts of their bodies. His neighbors complained about the unbearable smell coming from his apartment for months, and nobody investigated. In one of the most chilling moments in true crime history, one of Dahmer's victims actually escaped, ran into the street, and flagged down police officers. But Dahmer calmly convinced the officers that the young man was simply his drunk boyfriend. The police believed him, walked the victim back to Dahmer's apartment, and left. That young man did not survive the night. Number 9, Ted Bundy. If Jeffrey Dahmer was terrifying for what he did, Ted Bundy was terrifying for what he looked like. Handsome, charming, educated, a law student. He used his appearance as a weapon, luring women in by pretending to be injured or in need of help. Bundy confessed to 30 murders across 7 U.S. states, but investigators believe the real number is significantly higher. What most people don't know is that Bundy escaped from police custody not once, but twice. And after his second escape, he killed 3 more people in just 12 days. At his trial, women sent him fan letters, marriage proposals, and showed up in court wearing their hair parted the same way as his victims. He was executed by electric chair in 1989, and his final words were, "I'd like you to give my love to my family and friends." Number 8, Jack the Ripper, the original uncaught killer. In 1888, the Whitechapel district of London became the hunting ground for one of history's most infamous murderers. He killed at least 5 women with what investigators described as almost surgical precision, leading many to believe he had medical knowledge. But what made Jack the Ripper truly terrifying was his arrogance. He sent taunting letters to the police and newspapers, mocking their inability to catch him. One letter arrived with half a human kidney inside it, claiming it belonged to one of his victims, and forensic analysis at the time suggested it did. Over 130 years later, with over 100 suspects named by researchers and investigators worldwide, Jack the Ripper has never been identified. His case remains officially unsolved to this day. Number 7, Andrei Chikatilo, known as the Butcher of Rostov. Between 1978 and 1990, Chikatilo murdered 52 women and children across the Soviet Union, making him one of the most prolific killers in European history. But here is what made his case particularly disturbing. Soviet authorities refused to publicly acknowledge his existence because admitting a serial killer was terrorizing the population contradicted their image of a perfect communist society. So while Chikatilo continued killing, the government stayed silent. When he was finally arrested and brought to trial, he was placed in a cage in the courtroom for his own protection from the victims' families. When the judge read out all 52 victims one by one, Chikatilo's response was not remorse, not silence. He left. Number 6, H.H. Holmes. America's first documented serial killer, and possibly its most calculated. In the early 1890s, Holmes constructed what investigators would later call the Murder Castle, a hotel in Chicago that he designed himself, specifically to kill people. The building had soundproofed rooms with gas pipes connected directly to controls in his bedroom, trap doors, secret passages, and a chute that led directly to a crematorium in the basement. Holmes opened the hotel during the 1893 World's Fair, when millions of tourists were flooding into Chicago, giving him an endless supply of victims. He was convicted of 27 murders, but historians believe the real number could be as high as 200. When asked if he felt any remorse before his execution, Holmes said he felt he was slowly transforming into the devil himself, and that he was entirely at peace with that. Number 5, Luis Garavito, a name that is not as well known in Western media, but holds a record that is almost impossible to comprehend. Garavito is the most prolific confirmed serial killer in history by victim count. Operating across Colombia throughout the 1990s, he confessed to the rape and murder of 138 children. But as investigators dug deeper and began matching skeletal remains found across the country, the estimated number of victims rose to well over 300. When he was finally caught and sentenced, Colombia's legal system at the time capped his sentence, and due to his cooperation with police, he served just 22 years. He was released from prison and is believed to be alive somewhere today. Number 4, Harold Shipman. And this one is different from every other entry on this list because of who he was. Harold Shipman was not a drifter, not a predator lurking in the shadows. He was a doctor, a trusted, well-respected family doctor in a quiet English town. Between the 1970s and 1998, Shipman murdered an estimated 250 of his own patients by injecting them with lethal doses of morphine. Most of his victims were elderly women who trusted him completely, who invited him into their homes, and who had no idea that the man caring for them was ending their lives. He was only caught because he forged a patient's will to name himself as a beneficiary, and the woman's daughter became suspicious. In 2004, Harold Shipman was found dead in his prison cell. He took his own life, and with him, took the true reason he did it. We will never know why. Number 3, Pedro Alonso López. Known as the Monster of the Andes, López confessed to the murder of over 300 young girls across Colombia, Peru, and Ecuador throughout the 1970s. His crimes only came to light when a flash flood in Ecuador uncovered a mass grave containing the remains of many of his victims. He was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to prison. But here is where the story becomes almost unbelievable. After serving just 18 years, López was declared sane and released in 1998. He was quietly handed over to Colombian authorities on a minor charge and then released again shortly after. Interpol has issued a notice for his arrest, but as of today, Pedro Alonso López, a man who confessed to over 300 murders, is somewhere in the world and nobody knows exactly where. Number 2, the Zodiac Killer. What separates the Zodiac from almost every other killer in history is the psychological terror he created. Operating in California in the late 1960s, the Zodiac claimed to have killed 37 people, though police officially confirmed 5 victims. He sent encrypted ciphers to newspapers, taunting the public and daring investigators to catch him. One of those ciphers remained unsolved for over 50 years. He sent a piece of a victim's blood-stained shirt to a newspaper as proof of his crimes. He threatened to attack school buses and kill children. He called police radio stations live on air, and then he simply stopped. No confirmed sightings, no arrest, no identity. The Zodiac Killer was never caught, never identified, and the case remains one of the most haunting unsolved mysteries in American history. And number 1 is not a lone killer. It is something far larger and far darker. During World War II, a Japanese army doctor named Shiro Ishii ran a covert biological warfare unit known as Unit 731 deep in Japanese-occupied China. What took place inside that facility was so disturbing that for decades, much of it was suppressed. Prisoners were subjected to live vivisections, meaning surgery performed on living people without anesthesia, to study the effects in real time. Others were deliberately infected with plague, cholera, and typhoid. Frostbite experiments were conducted by freezing prisoners alive and then thawing and refreezing their limbs repeatedly. The biological weapons developed and deployed by Unit 731 are estimated to have caused over 300,000 deaths. making Shiro Ishii directly responsible for more deaths than any individual in this list combined. But here is what will stay with you. When the war ended, the United States government made a secret deal with Ishii, full immunity from prosecution, in exchange for his research data. Shiro Ishii lived freely in Japan until 1959. He died of throat cancer. He was never charged, never prosecuted, and faced zero consequences for any of it. These are not stories, they are history, real events, real victims, real failures of the systems that were supposed to protect people. If this video made you think, share it with someone who needs to know this history. And if you want more content like this, follow for new dark history facts every single week. Sleep well tonight.